So, hello and welcome to the Creative Cast. My name is Lucas Homan, and today we are joined via Zoom and from New York City by Kevin Su. Now I got it. Welcome to the show. How are you feeling, mate?
I'm feeling great, Lucas. I had a great Friday night dinner, a great Friday night sleep, and I'm ready for this.
Okay, great. It's good morning for you, because what time is it for you over there right now?
7:25 a.m.
All right.
So it's a 6-day work week.
I'm asking too much.
Yeah.
So you're living in New York City right now, doing your MBA, your Master in Business Administration at the Columbia a business school, right? How's that going for you right now?
In a time where we have COVID, I think this could not have been a better choice. I'm meeting a lot of new people. I'm learning new things. Job opportunities opened up for people who are in school. And so all in all of those things combined with living in New York, which is arguably my favorite city in the planet, means a lot to me. So I'm really enjoying the experience.
Nice. I can't even imagine. I've never been to the US. So, but one day I will go and I'll check it out by myself. But I mean, what you can just tell from world-renowned city like that, got to be amazing. Yeah. I would like to first of all get you to present yourself and kind of get an idea of what you do and where you come from. So maybe you can give us a little brief story about yourself and how you got to New York.
Sure. So I'm born in California and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm the son of Taiwanese immigrants to the US, so I consider myself Taiwanese American. For me, I grew up playing sports, so golf and volleyball. I learned how to play cello as well. And for undergrad, for my university, I attended Stanford, where I lived 30 minutes away from. And there I studied science, technology, and society, which is the intersection between the technical and the social elements of science and technology, and how that all relates to societal development, economic development, policy, government. I had a really great experience there. I wanted to be a pilot growing up, but after going to Stanford, it shifted a little bit to working in the financial services industry. And that's what brought me to New York, because I interned a few times in college in New York City. College also made me interested in traveling abroad. So I studied abroad in Germany, where I met you, Lucas, and I also spent a few weeks in Japan, where I did another exchange program. I worked in the investment industry, focusing on the aviation sector. So still connected to the interest of wanting to be a pilot. Mm-hmm. And in that company, I applied to business school and knew I wanted to go to New York City. And when I got into Columbia, it was a very straightforward decision to attend. And therefore now I'm spending the next 2 years of my life in New York City for school. And, after school, I will also be staying in New York. So I'm here to stay. If you ever come visit, I will be here.
Okay. Yes, 100%. You can count on that. No. Okay. So, why do you think, how does the MBA will help you, maybe becoming a pilot or getting into the aviation industry?
Well, I think the dream of being a pilot is now in the rearview mirror, if you will. And I say the dream of being an airline pilot. Once I have my MBA, the opportunities are to work for a bank, an investment bank, that's in a team that works on helping airlines raise money, acquire other airlines, for instance. Or you can work at a consulting firm that helps airline executives make decisions around business strategy, business operations. That's what an MBA preps you for. Yeah. If I had wanted to be a pilot, I think I would have continued on after undergrad and went to pilot school instead of working in the industry and doing my MBA. But, with the MBA, hopefully I get a full-time job related to aviation, related to transportation more broadly. And eventually, as I make it more senior, save up enough to be a pilot on the side when I'm not working. And I can fly,
like a hobby.
Exactly. I can fly for a hobby. I can fly some rescue air taxi missions, anything out there that takes a sort of private pilot, if you will.
Yeah, fair enough. So at some point you had to, well, especially after you were, after you graduated at Stanford, well, you had to make a decision whether you want to be a pilot or as a finance guy in the aviation industry, which is a very different. I mean, you get into that industry, but doing something very, very different. So how did you manage to make that decision? What, took you to go for one rather than the other?
It wasn't an easy decision, especially if it's something I was so passionate about growing up and still am to this day. And part of what made being a pilot so attractive was, A, you get to travel internationally or just travel domestically. B, you work with different people all the time. And so no day on the job is different. And I'd say C, is it's very hands-on, it's very operational. And those are the things I really like. And so when I knew I had the opportunity to go to Stanford, like something I really wanted to do was just to see what else I could enjoy and see how I could make it related to aviation. And financial services was also really appealing to me because the market condition changes every day, whether it's in the US, whether it's globally, economics and politics are also really fickle and very volatile. They change all the time. And in the financial services world, that makes the day-to-day job also very exciting. Mm-hmm. And also, in financial services, you tend to meet management teams from different companies that you are advising. And so that also gives you the element of meeting different people. And in a pre-COVID and hopefully in a post-COVID time, there's also a lot of travel associated with the job, depending on your position. But there's also a big element of visiting the client to help them with their needs and to meet them face-to-face to really understand them and build that relationship. So I think there are elements of both that are equally exciting. And for me, it was more of a fact of what could offer me a more stable life, better job security, something with an opportunity to live in New York, for instance. And it really boiled down to what opportunity was more accessible to me at the time when I was making a decision. So I was fortunate enough that when I was graduating Stanford, I took a business school class at the Stanford MBA program. I took a business school class there where one of the guest speakers that came to class ran the aviation investment firm. And that was a great opportunity for me to really strike while the iron's hot and seize that advantage. But if it weren't for that opportunity, and if I didn't get accepted in an opportunity, there is a very high chance I would have went down the flying route. And I think it just take life step by step and appreciate whatever comes my way and make the most out of it.
Sure. So yeah, at the end, you try to find quite the solution that kind of fits or satisfies both worlds in a way, mm-hmm. as good as possible, and still gives you the monetary outcome you want as well from it.
Keeps the family happy too.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. My parents actually never were 100% on board the flying element because they think it puts me at more risk. They think air travel is very stressful sometimes, so they cannot imagine me doing that 24/7. And also, I have a little bit of hearing loss, as you may know, Lucas. And so at any point, if I can no longer pass my medical exams, that would put me and my potential in the job, in great danger. And there's so many other pilots that are capable and that want the job, right? That they have no shortage at any point in time.
Oh wow, yeah. I knew that you had quite, like a hearing deficit there, but I didn't think of that could, affect you as a pilot. But now that I think about it, it makes total sense that
Yeah.
it kind
You,
of makes it less likely.
you have to know when you are cleared to take off.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but is it that bad that it would, doesn't
Not
that
at
it wouldn't
all.
let you?
No, not at all. I think it is perfectly fine on my end to fly. I've taken the medical test when I did my training in high school and passed it without any issue. The key is if I ever wanted to take my flying career internationally, let's say to Asia or Europe, there they actually test much more. The medical tests there are run differently,
Mhm.
and the hearing component is done much more strictly, which can pose some potential barriers. But in the U.S., I think it is. I've done it, and it is doable.
Okay, fair enough. Interesting how your parents thought it would be more stressful to be a pilot. I'm not sure. I think the financial sector is quite stressful as well.
They will find out in a few years.
Yeah, when you're like exhausted and burned out, like, oh shit, I made the wrong decision. No, but it's those kind of decisions that really, shape your future and are quite tough to do. And
Yeah,
it is often or most of the time, the decision between what I, would love to do and what gives me more security, more income, more wealth, right? And it's often not the same thing that gives you both, right?
yeah.
So I feel like you were kind of in that spot there.
There's actually a really interesting diagram I saw when I was going into business school, and it had three circles. One is what you love to do. Another circle is whether it will give you the financial security you need in your life to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And the third part of it is that it's something you're good at. And if you can find the sort of intersection between those 3 points, then I think you've hit all the things that you can really ask for. And for me, finance, a big part of it is also just something that I would read about in my free time. There's enough interest there to keep me going. And in doing the job in the past, I've learned that while I might not be the best at it in the beginning, it is trainable. Like you can get trained, you can improve as the years go by. And it's something that I feel like I'm improving over time with. So it's not like a launch shot where the second I enter, I just knew there was no chance of improvement. And so I think those three things are really important to think about. And for me, I think I try to make it a point to strike that balance.
Mm. Yeah, I like that diagram you saw. The analogy is, it's quite on point, right? It's if you happen to find, a job or you make yourself a business, which is the other option, that normally is more likely to fit all those categories, right? To build your own thing. If you happen to manage to achieve that, it's quite the moment you go eureka, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to also touch a little bit on specifically on the MBA. Maybe you can share with us a little bit of information and tips for people that are still studying and might be interested to actually attend it or try to get into it as well.
Sure. I'd say the MBA is a really great experience for those that want to get a solid and more a nuanced education in business, especially if you did not come from a business background or you didn't study it while you were doing your bachelor's degree. That certainly was my case. And I appreciate having the coursework to give me the confidence that I've learned this stuff in class and I'm not just doing it on the job or learning bits and pieces on the job and not getting the full picture. And so I think from an academic standpoint is really beneficial. The second point about the MBA is it is great from a career pivoting standpoint. So if you worked in another industry and you have an industry you want to go into in the future, but the sort of recruiting process is very tough in your current position, or if your current position just isn't giving you as much growth or advancement as you would prefer, I think an MBA is a really phenomenal opportunity to press that reset button, if you will, and give yourself an opportunity to re-recruit for a different job during your MBA, to shape your narrative in a way that makes it really appealing and understandable to those on the other side, and also give you a pipeline to recruit for jobs that traditionally would not open up applications to career switchers. A lot of companies that have very few slots, for instance, only take people when they graduate from their bachelor's degree and when they finish their MBA, and those are the two best times for you to break into those industries. So from a job standpoint, the MBA could be really worthwhile if you fall in one of those categories of like you want to switch your job, you're not growing a ton in your job, and you want more rapid advancement like in your career. And I think the third element of that is just building a very, very strong network of connections. For my case, not only Americans, but also a bunch of folks from Latin America, Asia, and Europe that I would not have a chance to meet otherwise. And the cool thing about it is these people are all going to be going into industries after their MBAs. They're all going to be working as a manager, working as in a position where they will experience hopefully more career growth. And it's great that you've had spent time as classmates together and built those relationships such that like in the future, when everybody is in an elevated position in their careers and are making decisions that really impact society, that really impact the business world, like these are people that you can call friends. These are people you can call connections. And in this world now, it's much more about who you know. Of course, what you know is also pertinent, but who you know is what gets your foot into the door in this day and age.
Yeah, a good network does bring you a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so just to put it out there, I think it is a worthwhile investment, though I'll caveat that by saying two things. I think the first one is that it's really important that you know what you want to get out of it. So if you're not sure what that future path looks like, or that future career looks like, or your future goals, you must think deeply about it, and such that once you're at your MBA, you can really maximize those 2 years to find that job you really want, or to do a lot of trial and error. Whether it's you want to start your company and you need to find a co-founder of the MBA program, or use the MBA network to find other people that can help you in building that business. Do a lot of trial and error and really make good use of the time you can find that next job. And to do that effectively, you need to know what you want. And the second recommendation is just to really think big and wide about your goals. I think a lot of MBA programs accept people that they think will really make a big contribution to the society. And to really gauge that, they look at the goals that you put out there. So when you apply to your MBAs, you always have to write what your short and long-term goals are. And I think it really helps to dream big and think wide beyond what you might think you're capable of, because that's how the universities take a bet on their students that they accept. They're like, Lucas can really achieve A and he has a potential, rather than okay, Lucas is great, but his goals are really small. And even if he succeeds today, it's not going to make much of a dent, right? And so think about what you want to do, and also think really big and broad about what you could accomplish.
All right, I see. There's, as you said, it's quite an investment as well. What do you think about the financial side of attending that master's? Because it's quite expensive. I've looked up the website as well. So what's your thoughts on that? And maybe for someone that even comes from Europe, as you said there, most people that attend do that masters are from the States or from South America. So
yeah, the financial commitment is definitely a large component. It's part and parcel to the MBA experience. And a lot of folks here actually are sponsored by their companies. So meaning they work at a company that wants their employees to go do an MBA. So the company would actually sponsor them and pay for their tuition while they're doing an MBA, such that once they graduate, they'll go back to the company and work 2 to 3 more years and they get that tuition reimbursement. I didn't have the luxury of that. And so I think for me, it's more of a combination of savings from my previous jobs before the MBA, and a portion of that is taking on student loans. I think this is definitely a new concept for a lot of Europeans, because when I was in Germany, for instance, people talk about paying $1,000 per semester, $1,000 per year, even in some cases, to pay for tuition. And this is never the case in the US. And so a lot of us have turned to student loans, all with the expectation that we will hopefully be able to land jobs after we graduate. And these jobs will pay us at a level higher than what we experienced before the MBA. And therefore, after 2 to 4 years, we can pay it off completely and be debt free. And so that's what a lot of students are opting for. And a third part of that is just scholarships that we can leverage from, achieving great scores and great marks in class, for being from certain parts of the world. You also get scholarships that fund students from certain countries coming to Colombia. And the last part of it is just really, really seize an opportunity to find external funding opportunities. So I know there are also a lot of external scholarships that I could apply for instance, some for people with this type of background, this type of work background, this type of condition going on in their lives. And so there's a lot of opportunities that you have to be really resourceful for it. But I will put it out there that it's not a really easy fix, and it is a really challenging component to it that you have to bear in mind.
Yeah, as you said, it's quite the commitment, and if you happen to do it, you really have to put all your soul into it. And I think most people that go and do that masters probably go in debt, right, instead of having a scholarship. Or would you say it's quite the other way around?
I believe the percentage of folks that get scholarships could hover close to 50%, actually. But whether the scholarship covers a big balance of the tuition, I think that is less certain. I think the statistics say 50%, but in reality, the scholarships can only cover a very small portion of the total tuition. And in that case, it's still considered a scholarship. But the balance of that could be due to savings or loans, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Okay. Or maybe they're just paying part of the tuitions as well. Maybe they're paying a certain percentage and you pay the rest or something. Also a possibility. All right. Interesting. So I just wanted to, to get a little hands-on on that as well. Because for people that, might need to move to the US, if they come from a different country, the more information they have on that, the better, right? To make that important decision. The thing is, you mentioned Germany as well before. So maybe we can touch on that because it's quite a topic I love to speak about, especially about your experiences abroad. As you said, you were in Japan, you were in Germany. In Germany, that's where we started to, where we met each other as well. So maybe we can have a little chat about that.
Sure. Germany was a very transformational experience for me. I believe we met in the fall of 2016, Lucas. That was when I was in Berlin. Yeah. And looking back at that, that is almost 5 years ago. It's 4.5 years ago at this point. Time really blows by.
What's your ring?
It really was a great experience for me, because when I was thinking about where I want to go abroad, I knew for a fact I want to go to Europe. And that's because I have family in East Asia that I visit. And so part of me is really attached to that culture. And Europe was someplace really new for me, that I had no family background there. My parents have very limited experience of being in Europe. And for me, it was just an opportunity to see that part of the world for myself. Mm. And it's interesting because we had the opportunity to choose between going to France, Italy, and Oxford in the UK, and Berlin for our European options. And I chose Germany because I wanted to learn a new language. And I want to learn a language that could be used in multiple countries in Europe. And so the German-speaking region, we have Germany, Austria, Switzerland, right? We have Luxembourg, and I just think it was a great opportunity for me to learn a language and then be able to have more familiarity and more sense and sensibility when I'm in those countries. Mm-hmm. And going to Berlin was such a phenomenal experience because we had a homestay program sponsored by my university. So rather than living with classmates, I lived with a German host mother by the name of Krista Moog. She was a phenomenal and really interesting lady because she ran a hotel business in Berlin, in Friedenau. That's where we were. And so for me, not only did I get the experience of staying in a flat, but also for breakfast, I went to the hotel, ate the sort of breakfast food she had for her guests, and got to chat with the guests and befriend them. And not only that, outside of classes, I made an effort to meet local German students. And I believe I attended a few events, and that's where we met Lucas. And the elements of experiencing Germany outside of classes with my American classmates were the most memorable and most fascinating parts of my 3 months over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. What was actually the event? It's so long ago. I don't even remember what we did. First time, was it like at a bar or something? Or
I wish it were like that. You know, in a movie, we go to a bar and I sit there and you just sit next to me. You know, they always show that in the movies where I'm having a really tired day after classes. I go get a beer and sit there by myself at the bar, and you come up and order something else and we look at each other. I think that's what they were showing in the movies. But no, Lucas, I think we met on a trip to Potsdam, just south of Berlin.
Was it?
Yeah.
On a trip? Really? Oh, wow.
I think there was a Potsdam trip that I was invited to by one of my friends that I met before you, actually. And she invited me to the Potsdam trip, and I went. And it's funny because all of the solid relationships I built in Germany came from that Potsdam trip. And yeah, we had lunch. We sat at the same lunch table. Now that I'm like replaying the event in my head, I think, we sat at the same lunch table alongside your friend Alejandro.
Yeah.
Alejandro. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, I forgot about Alejandro.
A Spanish international student, right?
Okay. Yeah, now I remember. I remember we went to Potsdam. We had a lovely walk through, and then I think we were at a restaurant, had some cake or something. It was really typical in a way. And that was quite a nice day. And for those of you who don't know where Potsdam is actually, like a smaller city, right, very close to Berlin, like south of Berlin. So, and it's really, really beautiful. And that was the first time. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Could be true. I mean, we met quite a few ladies there as well, I believe. Like we had a small group there that we formed on that trip.
Right, and that included people like Alejandro, Anna from the Czech Republic. Who else? There were a couple of people that we actually, the day before I left Berlin, Lucas, I had this dinner I planned at a self-barbecued Turkish restaurant where they bring you.
I still have the picture of that one.
Yes, they bring you the raw meat and you cook it, and it was you and a couple other folks that I really became friends with during that experience. So all of those people actually came from the Potsdam trip.
Yeah, wow. And you managed to keep that up. Yeah, that dinner was right before you left, right? I think that was the last time we saw each other in Berlin. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. I mean, really, what I'm fascinated about is the fact, or this act of going abroad to experience more things. It's this, um, belief, that you should go out of your comfort zone, in order to experience new stuff. Um, how that became important to you, and how did you learn that that would help you?
I think it had to do with me growing up and attending university just within the same half an hour radius, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to draw a circle around my hometown, I've stayed in that same area for most of my life until I went to university. So I knew that going to university was my only chance to leverage the sort of study abroad experiences, to go abroad, but with the backing of a university program, for academics, for programming, for events. And then the rest of that, when I have free time, I could use it to explore on my own, to attend events at the German university, to travel by myself. And that gave me more confidence in doing that. And I knew this is really important to me because for me at the time, I still wanted to be a pilot. And I knew when you're flying, you're also making short-term stays in places that are very different from where you're from. And as I thought more seriously about the career path and also the financial services career path, I realized that there's no sort of job that you can do in which having more international experience will hold you back, right? I think having more international experience and having a more nuanced understanding of local cultures and having more empathy for people in different parts of the world really benefits you wherever you go, and regardless of like what you do in your career. And for me, that was like a turning point where I knew like I needed more of these experiences, and I would never shy away from an opportunity to get more of that under my belt.
Yeah, I believe that is quite. I do admire people that do that, because you need to be quite brave to do it. So many people are afraid to take that step because they're I don't know. There can be plenty of reasons, why they don't want to, travel or go abroad too much. It might be.
I think you need to strike a balance between being. You need to strike a balance in which you're feeling a uncomfortable comfort or a comfortable uncomfort, if you will, however you want to frame it, in a sense that you're traveling to a country where like what you're going to do to a certain extent. Like you maybe have like one friend there, or you might just not know anybody there, right? And so there's some element of that you need to be okay with, and you need to feel comfortable about. And there's another part of it. Yeah, there's another uncontrollable piece where you need to just embrace, right? For me, that was actually when I was looking for directions, looking for restaurant recommendations, I would need to talk to people on the streets to get their advice and feedback. And I think that was really important because it made me realize that whatever doesn't hurt you, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. In going up to people and asking for their advice, the conversations have always been really pleasant. And separately, when you're traveling by yourself, it also gives you more an opportunity to do that because you're not bound by the person or group you're traveling with. You're not bound by other people's decisions, other people's preferences, telling you what to do, not to do. And the great thing is if you do encounter somebody that you meet while you're traveling and you hit it off, you can always spend a couple more hours together. You can do a few more things together. You can meet later on during your trip. And really can't do that when you're in a group. It's just a different dynamic. And that really taught me how easy it is just to go up to people. And if you're an interested person, if you have a friendly attitude and a very curious attitude towards other people, I think it usually turns out to be a positive conversation. And that still keeps me going today when I'm in New York and when I'm in class too, and meeting new classmates, always trying to take initiative to do that because I've done that abroad. And look, I'm still in one piece now and nobody beat me up. Nobody hurt me for doing that. And so it's something I still really enjoy doing. And I challenge my friends to do the same.
I love it. Like you encourage them to go, seek that, what they're not used to. But it has changed the way you approach, the way you interact with other people. I mean, if you would have not traveled at all, and spent all your time in Stanford in California, your whole life, and then from there you go straight to New York and do the MBA, and you wouldn't have left the USA since. I feel like you would interact with people outside of the USA very differently. Not necessarily in a negative way, but your mindset and your approach will be probably more restricted, right?
Yeah, I do think that getting that exposure earlier, before your views become more fixated, is quite important. But at the same time, I'd also argue that as humans, our perception of the world, our habits are quite malleable. They do shift and change over time. And so even if I didn't have the opportunity to go, I think just having that curiosity to read the news about foreign events and an interest, overarching interest in learning languages, learning new cultures will get you very far, in the sense that like when you do have the opportunity, I think people will make good use of it. And even if you don't have the opportunity, and just reading about it provides an extra layer of sense and sensitivity towards those topics.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like if you can't go abroad because maybe you don't have the financial, situation in order to do that, you can always try to look for groups that are not from, that come from outside within your town or your city. Yeah,
right.
There will always be. You just need to find them.
Hosting people on couchsurfing, for instance,
exactly,
is a really great way. Obviously, some people are more comfortable than others in doing things like that. But for me, it was really interesting because I did a road trip with one of my great college friends in 2019. So it was 2 years ago. And we drove all the way down to Mexico, and a Mexican professor at a local university was our couch surfing host. And he didn't have a lot of opportunities to travel abroad. But if I recall in our conversation, he told us the types of people he hosted from all over the world. Us two being Americans, it was just a really great way for him to enrich his own life and also introduce foreigners to the small town of Ensenada in Baja California.
Yeah, if you can't go out and go visit the world, invite the world to come to your place, right?
I love that one.
It's another option. But I'm confident to say that if you happen to, go out there and interact with people that think differently, speak differently than you, in one way or another, you can only grow doing that. And it changes your mindset because you start to be more, you show more empathy, with those around you, because you know how they feel, because you have been in their situation when you've been outside, when you've been on your own, and you've needed help, or you are trying to find someone to spend some time with, and when someone comes to your place where you know everyone, the city, you empathize and you go, oh, you're more likely to give them what they need in that moment.
It's a really humbling experience. It teaches you patience when you're dealing with other people. It teaches you empathy, like you discussed. You step into somebody else's shoes and you walk around in them, and it just opens your eyes to different ways of thinking, different ways of presenting yourself, right, in situations, depending on how other people act, right? Because I think when you're in a new country, a lot of times the sort of status, if you will, right, or the sort of connections you have in your home country and the things that matter to you and the people around you in your home country might not apply the same way in where you're at abroad. And so it's sort of like you refresh yourself by understanding, okay, what are the things that people value over here? and what can I do to learn about it and best fit in such that it's a really engaging and a really wonderful learning experience for me during my time here. And when you come back to your home country, you can talk highly about what people tend to value, how people treat you in Germany, for instance, and it changes the way you act, like in the States. And for me, I think that was a big part of my learning and growth experience.
Yeah, totally.
And for instance, Lucas, I just want to put it out there that you're the one that actually taught me the importance of living in the moment and really standing by your own words and actions, in a way that when you present yourself, you realize that you need to really trust what you're saying and what you're doing, even if you're not sure, because if you don't stand by your own words and actions, you cannot expect other people to do the same and to always live life while enjoying the little moments. And I truthfully learned that from you during my time in Germany and all the time we spent together. That was one big takeaway for me.
Oh, wow. I appreciate your words. I mean, getting a little sentimental here. Like, come on, bro.
It's still being recorded.
Yes. No, I love that. That's quite, I mean, it warms my heart, to hear that from people that, happy when I can give people, a different set of tools to see the world, and give them more options and something they might have not considered on how to take on life as well. And if I can provide that to people, well, I'm happy with that. That's already more that I can ask for to actually inspire others, right? I feel like I often or set two examples of two big mindsets, to how you can approach life, and especially your relationships or new people, how you deal with them. I think I told you that back then as well. I normally tell that everyone if this topic comes up, and it's that you can start with 100 and not confidence, trust. You can start with 100% trust with anyone you meet, right? And whether they and they keep the 100% trust, if they earn it, they get to keep it. But if they happen to break it, they lose it really quickly. But they start with the trust here really up high, and only if they do something wrong, they lose it. That's one way. That's my way of doing it, because you have way more options, and you're more open to the world. You see a good world in a way, right? And yes, the downside of that is that you're going to get more disappointed in life, right? And you will feel bad more times, because more people will disappoint you. Well, that will just it will be tough in the beginning, but you'll get stronger and get over it quicker as time goes on. And you'll find many great people in your life doing that for sure, 100%, that fit to you. And the other way, I feel like that many people do. I'm not sure if it's more or less, but maybe 50-50 as well, that go the other way around. They go with 0% trust from, when you meet someone new, and you only get to 100% if you actually earn it, and I feel like it has also its positive aspects to it, because once you actually trust someone, they will have earned it, and it will be very likely that relationship will be healthy and will last. So you will have fewer relationships or fewer interactions, but those who work out will be of very high quality, right? So that's the good part of that. So I'm not saying one or the other is better or worse. I'm just saying that some fit better to some people than others, and for me it's definitely the first one. And it kind of reminded me what you said there.
I think I fall for the first camp as well, like you, Lucas, in a sense that we give people the benefit of the doubt, right? And we invest. I think we're open to investing a lot in the friendship or relationship at the beginning, and it is in essence the other person's to lose, right? It is theirs to lose if they chip away at that reputation or they chip away at that trust.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the beginning, you're obviously not trusting that new person like you're trusting your parents, maybe, or your brother.
For sure.
But it's just open. Like, okay, show me who you are.
Right, like an openness to engage and connect and to learn more about the other person.
Yeah, and if you get used to it and you do it a lot, you will tell really quickly if someone fits to you or not. You will just know within a few minutes. If that person talks to you, you will know. You're like, okay, something's going off here.
Yeah, you do that airport test. You do that airport test immediately when you meet someone, right? It's funny. When we were applying for jobs at the MBA, something came up where we needed to pass the airport test. People don't tell you this, but when you evaluate people, that's what you think of. Like if the flight were delayed by 3 hours and I needed to sit next to Lucas in an airport waiting for a delayed flight, would I enjoy his company or would I smash the window and jump out of the airport?
That's option one, or is that what is that?
It's an exaggerated outcome, but essentially you're evaluating whether you would enjoy somebody's presence, enjoy somebody's company, or not even enjoy, but just get along with another person.
Sure.
If you have to sit next to each other in an airport, and if you don't pass that airport test, it's hard for them to take you on board to the company.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes you will have situations like that when you're working. And I think the same goes for what you were saying earlier, and you can tell pretty quickly in these initial interactions. And I agree with that in part, but also sometimes it takes more time to build up an understanding of somebody and their intentions and what they have to offer, in terms of enriching a dialogue that you two engage in. And so I like to give second opportunities whenever it permits.
For sure. I'm not saying being an asshole and just say no to the first red flag you see. It's far from being easy. It's how I would really say it's one of the hardest things you probably can learn in life. Is just to be open, be confident enough, be strong enough to do that, because you need to be quite you need to value yourself a lot, to not get dragged down if you do that, by other people, and be confident. But once you actually overcome it, which is you can only do by really trying a lot, and falling on the ground and just standing up again. So, but I like that. I like the airport test. Next time you're not sure about someone, okay, airport test. No. I mean, it's the same thing as if you want to really get to know someone, go on a trip with them. Go and, spend maybe a week with that person.
Big time. Yeah.
You will 100% know after a week, Normally it gets really well, maybe 1 or 2 days. And then I feel like conflict will always come, but the difference being with the right people, you can solve them. With the rest, you don't. But conflict will always come because it's important. Conflict is good, and you have to assume that will appear. But if you two connect well, you will be able to sort it out. And
you'll be able to work it out. You overlook the conflicts if it is indeed the person you can spend a lot of time with, like have a really, really deep friendship with. To your point, travel just shows you the 360-degree view of somebody, if you will, because you deal with happy moments, you deal with stressful moments. You deal with conflicts with other people unrelated to the two of you on the trip. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of problem solving associated planning, decision making. And so I fully agree with you on that point.
Yeah, you experience them on all phases, you know, in the morning when they wake up like, oh, I need 5 coffees to speak to someone. You know, you see them on that phase as well, which you normally don't. Right?
Nope.
So, nope. Exactly. Normally you meet people at their peak, you know, when they're dressed up and have nicely showered and really happy and want to go outside and have fun. That's when they're at their peak.
They were not put together 5 minutes before and they threw themselves together in 5 minutes. You see them for the next hour and they're back to being messy afterwards.
Exactly. So I feel like that's something we can give those people out there that, you know, are listening, that is something we both happen to experience and happen to figure out that is quite important, you know, early on in life, and where you can grow as a person, you know, very, very quickly. And it just helps you in every possible way, not only in relationships and with others and with yourself, but also, which I know so many people that don't know what they want to do in life and they haven't found their passion yet. Traveling actually helps you in that sense as well. It helps you find what you really love in life. That's what happened with me as well, you know, because when we met in Berlin, I was studying physics, right? For that year in Berlin, yeah, I know, it's weird.
I know it's would weird. Not put physics to your face now at this point, but yeah, I remember that though with Berlin. Yes, you were studying physics at the time, and I thought you were actually gonna be a physicist.
I mean, I was so determined to be one, but it just, after I started, it was my second year, and I really felt like it wasn't my thing. You know, I was getting bored, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to work in this, you know, in my life, in my future life. I mean, I still find it interesting, but it wasn't something that filled me with passion, you know? So actually that year I spent in Berlin doing my Erasmus, I found photography for myself. You know, I had my phone and I started to take pictures every day, and it just happened very organically. You know, I wasn't thinking one day, okay, I need to find something else, and I think, okay, let's do pictures. No, I just went outside and then I saw something cool on the street. I just did urban street pictures with my phone. And I saw something cool, took a few pictures of it, and then, you know, it just grabbed me. I was like, wow, what is this? You know, it felt amazing. You know, I just did this, and I just felt the rush, you know, like a new drug I found. And this is addicting. And then I don't know, from there I just couldn't stop. And I happened to do, you know, I did that for many months, you know, a picture a day, and it just, my passion kept growing. And at some point I was like, okay, maybe this is what I want to do in life, you know, and what I want to study and work and dedicate. And so it helped to me. It might not be of help to other people to travel, but I feel like it opens you up to new things, to new ideas you would have not gotten to otherwise, you know?
Yeah. And interesting you mentioned that, because I don't think I've ever heard this part of the narrative of how you got into photography. And that's quite the experience you've had in Berlin as well. So it's great to hear.
But it's that thing. I mean, so many of us start to study something because we don't know exactly what to do. It's just, okay, this seems like the best option, or this seems to be the thing that is more fun to me. And then within the degree, if you're at uni, you find out, no, not really. And maybe it's a different degree, or maybe it's something completely different. But you find out while you're studying, you know, because you weren't sure before, but you weren't aware of it. or you were too blind, or you weren't looking for something else. You just didn't knew how to find it. So at that point, I had to do it. Probably the hardest decision I've ever had to make.
Mm.
It was dropping off uni with physics, and jump into arts and crafts and to study photography. Right. So that move, because officially that's like a downgrade. You go from uni to like an art school, and like technically that's like worse quality than uni. That's just how it works in Spain, I guess. But so that was kind of for my parents also like, okay, what is this kid doing? So, but I was lucky enough for them to be, understanding, and they respected my decision, which I feel like that is quite a rare thing.
The most you can ask for.
Stupid.
Yeah. But from your parents' standpoint, I think they all want the best for us, and sometimes they have had different experiences that lead them to believe that you should do X, Y, and Z. But I think the best backing, the best gift you could get from your parents sometimes is just the full and unconditional support for what you want to do. And it's great to hear that they gave in and sided with you at the end.
Yeah. I mean, I totally understand them as well. Just imagine yourself having a kid, and he starts something, and everyone who you ask says, okay, yeah, uni is the right path. Everyone does that. And just to stop that after 2 years, you always say, oh, you're losing that time. Why don't you finish it? And then you can do something else. And if you really know for yourself that's not what you want to do in life, that's not the right thing for you, the worst decision you can make is to actually finish that degree, because the point you have needed to get to that point to actually realize, oh, you like something else, that time is not wasted. You needed that time, to understand that it was important. It was part of your process. So it was very important. It was not wasted. What is wasted is after you realize that, actually keep studying, keep putting 2-3 more years into that degree, knowing that's the wrong thing to do because it's not what you want. It might give you at some point a stable job, but it won't fulfill. You won't be happy with what you do, right? So that's at least how I see it right there. But right. I completely understand that is especially for someone that's young, maybe that's 20 years old, maybe over 21.
Yeah.
Which that's how old I was. That's quite a lot of pressure on you, And I didn't know if I would be able to work with my photography degree or not. I just knew I wanted to do that.
Yeah. It's a big leap of faith even on your end.
Yeah, I had to really believe that it would work out, because everyone and everything I've read before studying it told me I was not going to get a job with it, like at all. Like for the photographers, especially in Spain, in the south of Spain, just no way. Which is true. I didn't find a job there, but I knew I was willing to, move abroad to make it happen. But yeah, that was just my experience there, and I feel like that could be of help of so many people out there that are just struggling, just don't know what they want to do, and it's quite frustrating. I mean, after you finished high school, did you know already, like, oh yeah, I want to go to Stanford and study this?
I didn't know what I wanted to study in undergrad, because for me, in undergrad, we didn't have degrees that really fit the mold in terms of what I want to do. I only knew I had the interest in air transportation and flight. And a lot of people recommended I become an aerospace engineer to design aircraft. But I always knew really clearly that my interest was more in just like learning how to operate the machinery actually, and not so much doing the designing behind it.
Yeah.
And so I had some broad direction, but nothing tangible. I think it was, for me, it was more anchored around the career I wanted, and less so what I was going to study. Because if I knew my career, then it wouldn't matter as much what I studied, as long as I can still prepare myself in the right ways for that career. I'm not sure if this is how it works in Europe. I think in Europe, and I know definitely know in other parts of the world, what you study actually has a very big bearing and impact on what you end up doing after school. Sure. I think in the US, there is definitely a little bit more flexibility around that.
Is it? I mean, Europe is very diverse and every country is a bit different. I can tell you for sure that in Germany and in Spain, what you study determines greatly what you work in. If there are jobs everyone can do, but if you go a bit more specific, you will have to kind of go into the area where you have studied at. Yeah, I have recently heard from a British lady that in England, in Britain, it's quite more like the US. Like you can study something and then, it's more important that you have a degree, whether compared to what that degree is in. So it's more malleable there, and you can just go into really kind of whatever, just because you have studied something. And I feel like maybe in the US it's quite similar.
Yeah, maybe they borrowed that from the Americans.
Ooh, do you think? I don't know. I would say maybe it's the other way around, but okay.
I do see that actually, in the sense that I know folks that went to Oxford, for instance, and studied like the sciences and had a career in business. So now that you mentioned that, it's starting to connect the dots a little bit.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. For now, we're quite touched on the main topics we really wanted to touch on, right? Is there anything you have on your mind that we haven't talked about that you would love to share with us?
I think in terms of the advice point, that there's some takeaways we can offer listeners. Something you mentioned about keeping an open mind and traveling, how that's helped you, also resonates with me, because and not just in traveling, but I think in seeking out experiences in life. So whether that's going on a hike people invited you on, saying yes to that, right? You're saying yes to an opportunity that comes your way. Even you're busy with something, you still want to make an effort to go out there. It's always, for me, it has always paid off more when I said yes than when I said no. For two reasons. I think the first is that you will encounter people there that you didn't know before. And even if you don't end up being best friends with who you meet there, they're just new people that that you can hit up when you want to, and new connections you make. Yeah. And B is that it just adds another dimension to your life when you say yes to something. So for instance, I said yes to an opportunity to go work in Arizona, for instance, or to go work in Colorado. And these are two states in the US I've never lived in. Colorado I've never lived in. I have lived in Arizona. And because I did that, now when I'm in another part of the country, I meet people that have spent time in Colorado as well. And that's a point of connection that we can make. And my view on all this is, the more you experience in life, whether it is traveling to the south of Spain, learning the new language, saying yes to go to this activity, even if you don't come out with what you necessarily wanted out of it, you will have more things to talk to people about more points of potential connection with other people you meet elsewhere. And once you make a small connection, it really, really helps elevate the situation, the social situation where you're with somebody. So always try to get out there to experience the most you can, because you never know when you'll be able to draw from that experience, when you're able to bring it up in a dinner table conversation. And all of that just makes you more of like a well-rounded person.
Yeah, definitely. That only can help you. You really need, you should really push yourself, you know. I know it is scary. For me, it was scary, to move. And, not to move, like to travel outside Spain, and kind of get this feeling of, okay, there's a world outside this country. And from the very first time I did travel outside, like I felt nervous, but I wanted to do it, And from that point on, it just gets better and better. You start to enjoy what you were kind of scared of before, right? It's when your biggest fears become your biggest strength, right? And sometimes it do be really like that. And something I kind of regret not having done is having a gap year before going into university, to explore and to find out and just find myself. I think that would have helped me a lot too. I can only recommend doing that.
Sure. Yeah. I didn't do one either. And so I'm not sure how much I missed out on, but I do think, I'm thankful for the experiences I've had and really, really excited for what else is to come. And I know you're the same mentality around that, Lucas.
100%. So we're reaching the end of the interview. It's crazy how time passes when you're in a conversation like this. It really is. Like, just
we were in the zone for that hour. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit. Felt like 15 minutes. That happened last week as well. With John. I don't know if you checked out the episode with the Australian guy. And we just kept talking. And at some point I was like, oh, what time is it? It's like 2 hours later. I was like, oh my God. You just zoom into the conversation and you just lose.
Yeah.
You just so focused, right?
You
lose aware of the time and you don't even care what time it is really at some point.
Yeah, you didn't even need to use Zoom to feel that way last week. And I guess this week we have Zoom in front of us, right? We're definitely
true. Zoom is it's a great tool, but it's different. I still love that we can actually do this, because without it, this wouldn't be possible. But it does kind of restrict a little bit of that personal touch I really enjoy about talking with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just me. Really, I like to see and touch people.
Yeah, Lucas, all about the in person, Haltman. Like that's your name. All about the in person.
All right. So, to sum up the episode, we talked about the MBA, about your story, how you got there, the struggles you have encountered, how you kind of dealt with them and tried to solve them to get where you are right now. We have talked about getting out of your comfort zone and making the most out of your time, really. In best case, traveling, because it broadens your mind and it really improves who you are and makes you more empathic. You show more empathy for everyone around you, and how that can help you in every possible way, in your personality, in your relationships, finding your true passion, and really helping you to eventually spend your time working in something you love, right? Which is really something we all do. we all seek for, right? To spend the time on something we deeply care about. And I'm sure everyone who listened to this got something out of it, some useful information, useful values. I appreciate you, Kevin, to join us on this interview, on this episode. Really, I'm thankful for your time. I know you're very busy doing your masters. You're doing great. I really hope you finish it off soon. With great marks. I'm very confident you're capable of doing so much. Really high hopes for you. And any last words you would like to share with us?
Just really thankful for our friendship, Lucas. Meeting you almost 5 years ago was definitely a life highlight, and there's never a dull moment. Always a new surprise, always a new point of interest that we can converse about, and especially this time around is being asked to join you as a guest for your podcast. And so thanks to all of you for listening. Thanks to Lucas for the opportunity, and looking forward to one of our future WhatsApp video calls, Lucas, that we do every now and then.
Yeah, looking forward to it as well. Thank you again for being here. My name is Lucas, and this was The Creative Cast.